Hi everyone, I'm Steve Quinn of Steve & Quinn Associates, and this is the first in a series of little videos on coach basics. So you might well have attended one of our coaching workshops recently, and this is intended to supplement it by focusing in on some of the knowledge areas and reminding you of some of the skills that are required to become an effective coach. So what I want to cover today is just to cover off the definition, what coaching is, and also to briefly look at the kind of skills required to be a good coach. Let's start with the definition. What's coaching? Well, coaching is a learning process. It's not a teaching process, and it's a learning process that's pretty focused. It's about being more effective, or it's about solving problems. So that's the kind of a range of activities that we can expect to cover. It's person-centred, so it's very much about the person's agenda. It's not about the coach's agenda. The coach might have a view, but it's very much about working with the person's agenda to unlock their potential, their capacity to become more effective, to become more self-sufficient in solving problems. And the last thing to say about coaching is that for us, our context is work, but coaching works equally effectively outside of work. And the other aspect of that is that often the things that get in the way of becoming more effective at work can lie outside of the work sphere, in family or social situation or whatever. So being able to take account and bring into the room external factors that are impacting on effectiveness or moving forward is important. So for me, coaching's a kind of a whole person thing. It's not just the work slice. It covers both work and career stuff, but it also covers life stuff. So let's talk a little bit about the skills that are required to be a good coach, and there's a range of these. We're going to focus on just a few, but I want to cover the main ones first. So we need to have a process that we're using and understand and be able to use that process. For us, that's grow. And then sitting alongside that, we need to be able to ask good questions, and we need to have a fairly good level of listening skill. So those are two starting points for us. Sometimes when people are being coached, they need support. Sometimes they need challenge. And finding the balance between these two is something that will be constantly changing. Sometimes they need lots of support. Sometimes that fades back, and what they need is some challenge to their thinking or their ideas. And it's very much a dynamic thing. So being able to challenge and support people is something that we'll come back to in a later video. It's important for you to be self-aware. Aware of what you bring to the coaching situation, your background, your experience, your skills, your beliefs, your values, because we all bring, all of us, to the coaching relationship, and it's important that you don't overlay that on the individual, that you can be aware of that and try and neutralise that, perhaps set it to one side. So being self-aware is important. And that links with the next thing I want to talk about, which is that when we're coaching and we have the answer, it can be really compelling to offer that solution to people, to offer advice to them that you know from experience works. Well, that kind of gets in the way of effective coaching, because effective coaching is about unlocking potential. It's about building people's capacity to work things out for themselves. And of course, if we constantly give them answers, then they're going to wait for us to do that rather than working it out for themselves. So supporting them to learn and resisting that urge, that strong urge to give advice. Now, coaching is a learning process, and it's important that, as well as whatever goes on in terms of the nuts of the session, that that there's some learning going on for both the coach and the person being coached about what's been learned from the conversation today. So the coach should develop a skill set which includes being able to offer feedback, What have they observed? What have they noticed? What have they seen in terms of behaviour or how people think? But also to ask for feedback so that they can improve. So in a sense you're modelling that you're looking for feedback, that you're looking to learn from undertaking this process, and giving and receiving feedback is something that we'll talk about in a future video. Lastly, and this is, I suppose, connected with self-awareness, it's important that you're the kind of a stable, centred one in the coaching conversation, even if it's only for the duration of the conversation. That you don't bring your drama, that your needs to the coaching discussion, but you can set those to one side. What we're going to do is to focus on questioning and listening. We'll cover the GROW model again so that you're familiar and thinking about that. We're going to touch on feedback, and we're going to cover something on self-awareness. Now, sitting alongside this, it's really important that you get some practice. I hope from the workshop you've managed to do that. And if you haven't, that this video kind of encourages you to start the process, because it's a contact sport. I tell a story in one of the other videos about learning to swim. And my first kind of thought, I was a late learner to swim, my first thought was to go and read a book. Well, that can take you so far, but it's not the same as getting into the water. So I want you to get into the water and start practicing coaching. The springs won't pop out. Nothing dangerous can happen. You might not do, your best coaching session, but it will be your best one so far. Get out and get some practice and think about these core skills and what you need to develop. And I'll talk to you again shortly in a future video. Thanks.